Welcome to an introductory video on using the TI-84 graphing calculator. The goals of this video are to be able to turn the graphing calculator on and off, and we'll also cover how to enter various expressions on the graphing calculator, including fractions, exponents, radicals, scientific notation, and evaluating expressions. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we need to know how to do is to turn the calculator on. In the lower left hand corner there is an on button, so if we press on, the calculator will turn on. To turn it off, we have to press second and then on again. You can see the off right above the on button. So let's go ahead and turn it back on. Now let's take a look at the mode settings. Here is the mode button. Let's press this. And the main thing I want to talk about here is this second row where it has the word float and then the numbers 0 through 9. I recommend leaving it on float. If you do set it to a fixed number of decimal places, let's say 3, and if I press enter and then go to the home screen by pressing second mode for quit, if I press 3 plus 2, it'll look strange. It'll have 5.000. It will always have 3 decimal places to the right of the decimal point if you have it set at 3 fixed decimal places. So if you go back to mode and leave it on float, press down, enter, and then quit, second mode. Now if I press 2 plus 3, it won't have extra decimal places, and it will only include decimal places when needed. So for example, if I press 3 divided by 2, it will return 1.5. If we go back to the mode just for a moment, there are a lot of other settings here, but for right now we're only going to be dealing with expressions, so that's the only row that I will cover. If I want to clear this home screen, I press clear here, and we'll position the cursor in the top left corner. So now let's talk about how we can perform calculations on the home screen. Working with fractions is very easy on this graphing calculator. Now there is no special fraction key. Remember that a fraction bar is just a division symbol, so if I want to enter 1/2, I would just type in 1 divided by 2. Now if I hit enter, it will convert this fraction to a decimal. But let's say I want to find the sum of 1/2 and 1/3. I like to enter the fraction in a set of parentheses, so 1 divided by 2, close the parenthesis, there's the 1/2, plus, open parenthesis, 1 divided by 3, a close parenthesis. Now when I press enter here, it will give me a decimal approximation of this sum, which isn't very helpful, but we can convert this decimal back to a fraction by pressing math. And notice how the fraction option is already highlighted. Press enter and then enter. And that sum is 5/6. Let's go ahead and try another. Let's say we want to perform 2/5, 2 divided by 5, times 7/8. 7 divided by 8, close it, press enter. This will give me a decimal. To convert this decimal to a fraction, we press math, enter, enter. And that would be 7/20. Next, if we want to type in exponents, this little caret or hat is the exponent key. So if I want to raise 2 to the power of 4, I'll press the base 2, the exponent key, and then the exponent 4, and that will give us 16. Now if I want to type in a fractional exponent, I need to make sure I include that fractional exponent in a set of parentheses. So if I want to raise 8 to the power of 1/3, which is the same as the cube root of 8, I must enter it this way. Next, let's take a look at radicals. Let's start by talking about the square root. The square root you can see right above the x squared key. So if I press second x squared, it brings up the square root. Then I type in the radicand, close the set of parentheses, press enter, and that will give us the square root. Now for the cube root, we can press math, and you can see option 4 is a cube root with an index of 3. So if we press 4, or you can scroll down and hit enter, I'll press 4. it brings up the cube root command, and if we type in our radicand, press enter, it will evaluate that for us. Now any index higher than 3, we have a different procedure. For example, if we want to find the fourth root of 81, the first step is to type in the index 4, press math, and then you can see option 5 has an index of x. So if we select option 5, this notation is the fourth root of 81. Press enter, and it evaluates it. Now let's go ahead and talk about scientific notation. If we want to type in 5 times 10 to the negative third power, we press 5. Here we see 2 capital E's. This is the command for scientific notation. So if we press second comma, and now we just type in the exponent on base 10, and I believe I said 5 times 10 to the negative third power, so I'll type in negative 3. So again, this means 5 times 10 to the negative third power. If I press enter, it will convert it to a decimal. I can also multiply two numbers together in scientific notation. So to enter 2.3 times 10 to the power of 4, I'll press second comma and then just the 4, close the parentheses, times, open parenthesis, 6.2 second comma, let's say I'm going to type in times 10 to the negative 2 power. Just type in the negative 2, close, enter. Now, depending on the result, it may or may not give the answer in scientific notation. So if you want this answer in scientific notation, you would have to convert it yourself. Let's talk about how you can store values for variables. So let's say, for example, I want to store 5 for the variable a. I press 5. Here's the store key, and now I have to find the letter A. You can see the letter A in green here, so I have to press alpha math, enter. Now 5 is stored for A. Let's store negative 3 in for B, so we press negative 3, store, and then we have to find the variable B, which is here, so we press alpha apps, enter. And let's store negative 2 in for C. Negative 2, store, C is here, so alpha program, enter. Now if we want to evaluate an expression involving these variables, we can just type in the expression. So for example, if we wanted to evaluate b squared minus 4ac, which happens to be the discriminant in the quadratic formula, we can just type in b, which is alpha apps, squared. We can hit this caret and then 2, or there is a squared key here, minus 4 AC. A is alpha math and C is alpha program. Press enter and our discriminant would be 49. Or this expression b squared minus 4ac is equal to 49. This is a nice way to check your work when you're evaluating expressions. I hope you found this introductory video helpful. Thank you for watching.